always want to become a teacher? I often get asked, and my answer is always a no. If you know me, you know that I love to teach. But every time I am asked if I wanted to become a teacher, my answer is a no, and people actually get surprised. But the truth is I actually did not want to become a teacher. In fact, I never wanted to become a teacher, and I was very, very, very determined. The thing is, I was raised by a single mother. She is a primary school teacher, and I saw how much she struggled. I saw how hard she worked, but yet the salary was not enough. As a matter of fact, I was one of those children that struggled quite a lot in school, being chased home for school fees, and that did not make me happy. It just more and more raised my resolve that I was not going to become a teacher, and I was going to do everything possible to make sure that I changed that particular situation. But amidst all this, I think there is one particular time that stuck in my mind. I had been sent back home for school fees. I was in A-level at that time. Mom did not have money, so she went to get a loan. And when she went to get that loan, the loan officer came home and they took a picture of the assets that she had as collateral, and Mom was standing next to a television set. The image of her standing on that set was so imprinted in my mind. I remember going back to school and determining to myself that I was going to do everything possible to change that situation. Mind you, A-level, I was doing biology, chemistry, math, and agriculture. Determined not to become a teacher. I wanted to become a doctor and be able to change that situation that we had been going through. And so I studied. I studied so hard. A-level was tough. It was really, really tough. But my dream and my vision to become a doctor was so imprinted in my mind because I needed to change that particular situation. And so I studied. We sat for A-level. Results came back. And guess what? My dream was shattered. I did not get the results to go and do medicine like I had wanted. But if you know me, you know that I am stubborn, and if I want something, I am going to do everything possible to get it done. So what did I do? I said I'll do anything that is close to medicine. I took a dead year to actually look for something around medicine. I wanted to go do clinical medicine or go do nursing, but I needed to find something that was not going to take me in the classroom. Spent 1 year at home, determined whatever it is, I have to go do medicine. Anyway, long story short, I'm calling my friends. They're at the university. They have started. They're like, where are you, Flavia? I'm like, guys, I'm at home. They're like, what's up? I'm like, after that, I was like, you know what? I need to go and study. So I sat with my parents and I convinced them and I told them, you know what? I think I can actually go to the university and I can go and do education. This education was going to be in biology and chemistry. The reason was I was going to use this thing as a stepping stone to actually do the medicine that I wanted. Well, I convinced them. After 1 year, I joined Chambogo to do what? Education. Why? It was supposed to be a stepping stone for me. After the 3 years, I was supposed to go and find a medical course to build onto that. I was not supposed to go to the classroom. Never. That was not supposed to be the dream. It wasn't supposed to be the goal. Anyway, long story short, I go to the university. I study. As you know, second year, you have to go and you have to do school practice. So they tell us to find schools. We look for schools. We go to teach. If you have been in school, student teachers sometimes are bullied, sometimes they struggle. So just like any student teacher, I had cold feet. I was thinking to myself, how am I going to be? You see me like this, but I was afraid. I was thinking, how am I going to be in front of the classroom? Anyway, second year comes, I go to the classroom and I begin to teach. They gave me senior 1 and senior 2 to teach biology and chemistry. The kids were nice. They liked Miss Flavia. And I came in timid, but exciting, really. I came in with the energy. I wanted to, teach and make biology and chemistry fun. So I taught. As I taught, the reception from the kids was good. The kids would come and ask questions from Miss Flavia. That felt very good. But can I also tell you what felt very good? I enjoyed planning for a lesson and it goes well. When I tell people that, they actually think, who does that? But yes, when I started to plan, I would sit down, plan my lesson very well. I go to class, I execute, and when you have taught a good lesson as a teacher, you actually know. I would see the kids, they'd be happy. And so I was like, you know what? This thing is actually not so bad after all. Anyway, in my whole teaching, there's this particular incident that I think changed the way I saw teaching, like for good. Remember, I was teaching so I could be able to use it as a stepping stone. But I remember there is this particular day, still in that school practice, where in my second year, there's this particular student. I'm not going to use his exact name. I'm going to give him a pseudonym. So I was teaching. I remember so well it was a chemistry lesson. I was teaching about protons. I was teaching about neutrons. I was teaching about electrons and how they move around the orbital. I will not take you into the details of that, but if you remember, we sometimes would calculate the charge of, an atom just by calculating the number of neutrons and the number of protons or the number of electrons. So I was teaching about that, but I was trying to make it so fun and so lively. And I remember I gave numbers and John did these numbers and he got all of them correct. Guys, the excitement on his face was something I have lived for up to today. He was beaming with excitement because he could literally see how an atom is charged positively or negatively because of the number of electrons and protons. My goodness, I was like, you know what? If I can get every student in my classroom to just have this face that John had, that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And I tell you, when I left class that day, I knew I wanted to teach and I wanted to give every child that understanding, that beam, that spark. I never left the classroom. Second year, I was teaching as I was studying. Third year, because then we're going into third year. Just to know, I never left the classroom. So I went ahead to teach. Finished university as I was teaching. After university, found a place and taught. Guys, if I tell you I love to teach, I don't think you understand it. But anyway, as a novice teacher in my career, I was the kind of teacher that my fellow teachers would call and say, hey, Flavia, I am not going to be able to make it. Can you help me teach this lesson? And I'd be like, no problem. When, how, where? Like, I would jump onto any lesson to teach. If you ask my students, I taught them in the morning, I taught them in the evening, I taught. I thrived in the classroom. Anyway, I still do. When I stand in front of the classroom and I give a good lesson and I see how the students receive it, the understanding, that spark in their eyes, it just energizes me. And I want to do that all the time. But because I was, for lack of a better word, an exceptional teacher, so I headed a school. After heading a school, I headed a number of schools. Now, during this time, I noticed something as I supervised fellow teachers. I would enter the classrooms and I would see that many of them were like me at a point where they did not want to teach, but they ended up teaching. Unfortunately, they had not yet found that thing that can make them love it. So lessons were dull. You would enter a classroom and you're thinking, can we do different? What can we do better? How can we make these lessons more lively? How can we get the kids to learn? But I could not find that answer. And so it didn't matter how much support I gave, I still felt like it was lacking. I wanted to literally just replicate myself in my staff. Get them to just passionately teach. But it was difficult. And so I started researching and thinking, how can I help? And so I got into understanding that sometimes teachers do what they do. because probably they don't know what methods to use or they're still not passionate. And because of that, I wanted to now get into teacher training. And so in my recent past, I started to train teachers, to motivate teachers, to give talks to teachers, just to see how can we be able to be the teachers that are going to light up the kids in our classrooms and give them the face of the other boy that I have talked about. And so about, I guess, 3 years ago, I got an organization where I had an opportunity to train teachers. And it was beautiful. It was amazing. Just walking into these classrooms of these teachers, we worked in very remote areas of Mayuge, Namutumba, and, Chikube. We were in different parts of the country. We were training teachers, but walking into these classrooms gave me a completely different understanding of what teachers are. Guys, the teachers in those classrooms are heroes. I've entered classrooms where a teacher is teaching 200 kids. Guys, I am talking about 10, 20, 50, 100, 200, one classroom. Some of whom do not have desks. They are sitting on the floor and the teacher is literally struggling to find space to instruct. And they wake up every single morning with a smile and they come to the classroom and they teach. I was like, you know what? These ladies and gentlemen are heroes. We need to be saluting them. Supporting those teachers gave me a different appreciation of the profession. You see, I'm telling you, I love to teach. But I kept asking myself, would I even be able to do it in that condition? It was like a new resolve. I'm thinking to myself, we need to do something because yes, we trained them. Yes, we motivated them. But it seemed like we needed to do something more. Every time I entered those classrooms, I was thinking to myself, what can we do to just uplift ourselves as teachers? How can we get the profession better? Because it's sometimes really, really difficult under those circumstances. So when we sit in the city and we see what's happening and we see some of the teachers, maybe some of them look fine. But when we actually go to where the real magic is happening, I actually just learned 80% of the kids that we have in this country are in those remote schools, being taught by those teachers, being taught by those heroes. So from that particular experience, I actually have started my own teacher development agency to see how we can help and support those teachers and the work that they do, because I have seen teachers with a lot of potential who just need to be inspired. And this has left me very burdened. Just asking myself, these teachers are actually brilliant. They're capable, they're passionate people, but they're just surviving, They are underwhelmed, they're undervalued, they're underinspired. And I am asking myself, what is it that we can do? So, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Flavia Nakajugo Chizito. I am often known as Teacher Flavia. Why? Because I'm a teacher. Like I have said, I love to teach and I enjoy teaching. And I'd like to introduce you to the Teacher Podcast. This is a podcast by teachers for teachers. A space where we are going to share real stories, honest journeys, failures, lessons, growth, impact. I'd like to invite teachers to share their experiences, not just polished highlights, but real stories behind the profession. Stories that are going to inspire us, stories that are going to equip us, stories that are going to remind us why we began. Because if we are able to listen to teachers that have made it, then we might somehow be inspired to do the same. Because I am hoping if one teacher listens to this podcast and chooses to thrive instead of merely surviving, if one teacher can walk into their classroom more inspired than they were, if one teacher can rediscover their spark, then this podcast will have achieved its goal. So that said, I may not have become a doctor, that's okay. But I think I have found something just as powerful. And I think for me, it's just the ability to help spark transformation. And I think what makes me smile is that this transformation is not just in students, but it is in the people who shape these students. So whether you are a teacher, a school leader, or someone who just once dreamt of leaving the profession, I am hoping that this will be the place where you will grow, the place where you will be inspired, the place where we shall have honest conversations that will help us not just survive in this profession, but actually thrive. So, welcome to the Teacher Podcast by Teacher Flavia.